Thank you. And good morning. One sneak in, I don't know if you've noticed. Welcome. Welcome, all of you, to Unity Church of Jackson. It's so good to see those of you who could make it. And because we're recording, we hopefully will be able to reach out to those who are not able to make it at this point. And thank you again, David, for the lovely musical opening. We always appreciate that. It's so wonderful even to sit here for the 10 minutes or so before the service while David is playing. And it's just, we are so blessed. We are definitely blessed to have David. My name is Sandra, normally known as Sandy. Most of the time, that's the way I prefer it. And it says in the script here, I'm the podium assistant for this morning's service. And I've been thinking about this, and I've talked about this a couple of times, because generally speaking, this is what task ends up being mine on Sunday mornings. And it's become more and more of a privilege to do that. But I don't think of it so much as podium assistant. I like the term facilitator. And the reason I like the term facilitator is because I know that it comes from the French word facile, meaning easy. And it's not because I think the job is easy, it's because it is to make things as easy and as smooth as possible for all of us joining in this experience. And my hope is that each of us would see ourselves as facilitators for the experience that everyone is having, whether it's in person, listening to a recording, or just interacting with one another. That facilitator is not just a job for one person on Sunday morning. It's a job or a privilege and honor for each of us to be spiritual facilitators for one another. We're going to continue the service first with our opening statement. There is only one power and one presence in the universe, God the good, all power, ever present, all knowing, and we are one. And our vision statement, we are a spiritual community with a mission to share love, faith, and hope. And our mission statement, we are an accepting, loving, and faith-filled spiritual community that honors all paths to God. Now it's time for, generally speaking, review announcements at this time. The only announcement that I have is one that I usually have. That is that the Zoom meeting will be taking place this evening at 6 o'clock. The link to get into the Zoom meeting is in the newsletter and on the website. So you can find it either of those places. Everyone is welcome. There is kind of not a program, but kind of a rhythm that's being established in that Zoom meeting. And we would like to have more participants if those people would like to be part of the conversation. It's a sharing of insights and reflections. And I just want to put a plug in for that. Are there any other announcements? Okay. Usually at this time, we have a board minute. I'm not going to say too much about board activities because the board really has not been active other than the roles that we take on in the church. Except for the one thing that was kind of a disappointment this week was that we were able to find out definitively that we will not be able to sell the land that we were hoping that we would be able to sell. Zoning and districting and all of the things that we found out about it, it isn't going to work the way we had originally hoped it would. And that's a bit of a disappointment, but at the same time, I know there's got to be some kind of message there. There's always a message, there's always a gift. And so we are continuing to look for that gift and to know we're on the right path. Just sometimes we don't know what the next step is going to be or what it's going to look like. So today, I've chosen to go ahead and read the daily word for today. I think this again is particularly appropriate concerning the things that we've been through in the last week. The daily word for today is healing. And I think this is not only a personal healing, a healing for people that we may know who are asking for healing prayer, but I think it's a time for healing in a much more global sense. And so as I read this, think in terms of personal and global and the healing that we all are looking for. I embrace the healing flow of divine life. If my body experiences any kind of health challenge, I turn within to release all fear and all concern as I affirm that illness is not part of my true identity. I remember that wholeness is my birthright as a spiritual being. I surrender my anxiety as I fill my consciousness with healing thoughts. My mind's eye sees every cell of my body aglow with the energy of divine life. In prayer, I express appreciation for all of my body's marvelous functions. I commit to taking time to bless my body with rest, exercise, and good nutrition. I speak affirming words of truth to encourage my body's healing response. I give thanks for the healing that I know is already on its way to me. I am grateful to receive healing and know wholeness. And as we see that for each of us, as for each one of us individually, and for all those that we know, we see it even for the nation and for the planet. All of those things apply, and we release all fear and concern as we affirm that illness of any kind is not part of our true identity. In John 10:10, I come that they may have life and have it abundantly. So now we enter into our offertory time. As usual, the basket is in the back of the sanctuary, or the front of the sanctuary. I'm not sure which is back in the front. It's near the entrance from the foyer. So, but we do not pass the basket at this time, but we get an opportunity to listen to the offering that David has prepared for us, offering in music, as we celebrate the offerings that we receive, the blessings that we receive each and every moment. Thank you. And we enter into this time of Thanksgiving as we lift our prayer of gratitude for all the blessings, financial, musical, talents, just presence, just being part of this community and bringing our light. This is our offering. And if you wish to join in saying our offertory blessing, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. And amen. We'll now begin to enter into our time of meditation. I'm going to use the November Silent Unity prayer service today as our meditation. But in order to move into that, if we could have the Lord's Prayer, and then we will move into the meditation. And as we move into this time of meditation, begin to center your thinking within, releasing all that is extraneous, all that is unnecessary, all that you may have brought with you. You can pick it up and take it back out with you if you wish. But in the meantime, just let it be. Just center into the wholeness and the stillness that is within. In the stillness of prayer, we unify our mind within divine mind. We acknowledge the indwelling, pervasive presence and power, God, connecting with and including one another, we become one. One voice, one message, uplifting the world in prayer. We begin in gratitude. My every thought is in harmony with divine love. As I quiet my mind in prayer, I envision every thought bathed in divine love, the harmonizing power. Thoughts transform in the peace, in the presence of harmonizing love. I am able to see a way where I thought there was no way. I am able to hold my heart open in generosity. I am able to lean into the good and the just in a spirit of harmony. And as we enter into that harmonious inner space, just dwell there for a moment, just in the silence, in the silence. From this place of harmony and stillness and quiet within, we know God is the help in every cell and system of my body. God is, and therefore I am divine life. I am whole in body, mind, and spirit. I become aware of the flow of life throughout my body as my heart beats in perfect rhythm with the pulse of life. Every cell is receptive and responsive to the ever-renewing power of divine life. My mind is steady, unwavering in spiritual strength. Situations may come and go, or circumstances may change from day to day. All the while, I stand steady by the power of spiritual strength. God is my strength, and therefore I am strong. I need not react to life's changes with resistance or defensiveness, for I hold to the truth that is my freedom. In every matter, I am guided by infinite intelligence. I have instant access to wisdom and understanding as I turn within. Every concern directed to divine wisdom transforms into guidance. Divine intelligence is an ever-present inner resource that I count on in matters small and large. Wisdom and understanding guide my way. I am a radiating center of spiritual peace and confident living. At the core of my being, I am peace. My peaceful mind swiftly calms turbulent thoughts so that I think clearly. My peaceful heart generously embraces my human family. In peace, I flow from moment to moment with purpose, passion, and persistence. I am divine peace. And as we come to a close this session of meditation and prayer, we breathe a breath of appreciation for the truth that renews and refreshes us. Knowing our oneness with God and knowing our divine faculties of harmony, life, strength, and wisdom. We peacefully proceed into the hours ahead. We're going to conclude the service, this Silent Unity prayer service concludes with the Silent Unity version of the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. And we return to awareness of being here, being together, and our awareness of one another. As I ask each of us, we greet one another with Namaste, the divine within me beholds and embraces the divine within you. And the next phase of our service is we're kicking off the discussion phase. And Mark has asked to give the kickoff. And so he's prepared some stuff, so he'll get us started in our discussion. And we hope everyone will be willing and honored to participate in that discussion. So, Mark? If you'd like, David, you'd like to come down and join the group.
It's a little bit more than a kickoff. I wrote 6 pages. So if I see you guys snoring, I'll just throw out a few pages and just get right to that last one. I want to start with a story. True story. And then I want to ask a question. And then talk about Jesus. And then share 2 more stories, personal stories. The story, it was Christmas. It was nearing Christmas. And the priest of a country parish called a mother and asked if her young child could serve as an altar boy at the Christmas service. The child expressed some fear because he never served as an altar boy before and had not been through the altar boy training. So the priest, Father Yanni, said to the mother, "Bring him early on Christmas, and I will show him everything he needs to know." And on that fateful Christmas morning, Mom and her son dutifully showed up early. Mom was thrilled that her little boy, I'm going to move her away from this mic. And Mom was thrilled that her little boy was chosen to be the altar boy on Christmas. And she invited her 5 sisters and their families and all her friends. This was a big deal. And the young boy started to feel a little anxious. And Father Yanni reassured the boy everything was going to be just fine. And he continued, "There's only one thing you need to remember," said Father Yanni. "Just ring a set of bells when I put my right hand on the altar." In those days, ringing the bell was a signal to kneel, then to sit, and then to stand at different points in the service. But Father Yanni was getting up in age. Nearing 80, he probably was not aware how often he leaned on the altar to steady himself, using his right hand. The service started, and when Father Yanni leaned on the altar to steady himself, the boy eagerly rang the bells. The congregation kneeled. A few minutes later, Father Yanni steadied himself again. The bells rang, the congregation sat. He leaned again, trying not to, but the bells rang and the congregation stood up. Every time Father Yanni leaned on the altar, using his right hand to steady himself, the bells rang. His mom was mortified. Aunts and uncles turned red with laughter. Whether it was right or not, the people moved when the bells rang. The church was popping that Christmas. Everyone was on their toes. His family still talks about it to this day. And that's the end of that story. And I grew up Catholic, and I remember those bells. I remember standing. So I thought that was funny, and I see you nodding now. Does this? Yes? And so the question I have, and here's the question: do we hold to rituals, rules, and plans and habits of thought, things we should do in order to be good, instead of leaning inward and listening to our inner guidance? And so that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about in the next 5 pages. I believe going in is where we find meaning. And when we find meaning in our journey of walking with the Christ energy that springs from within. Heaven is right here. I mean, literally, it is right here. It is nowhere else. And there is no hiding here. Absolutely no hiding. Total vulnerability. Love is totally vulnerable. Totally defenseless. And when we are right here, we experience inspiration, empowerment, gratitude, and reverence. And now we are walking on the spiritual ground from within. We feel more here. And that could be, that can be also difficult. And because there is no hiding, I know personally that I sometimes feel uncomfortable because I like to hide sometimes behind my stories. I like to hide behind analyzing. I like to hide behind judging. But to be totally defensible and commune with love, I have to see what I'm hiding from. I have to see myself. And so, if you're like me, you tend to watch TV, read books, including spiritual books, to avoid that discomfort. But we need to go through any discomfort in order to get through it and be with the communion of passion, of love, of happiness, of joy. It takes time, it takes practice, it takes effort to commune with unconditional life that allows everything to be just as it is. And if we feel everything fully, the love of heaven will shine through, and our discomfort will become comfort. It is not my comfort. It is the comfort that's naturally present right here. It's in everyone. It's the comfort that we share with each other when we support each other. And if we focus on the love or stay in that stillness, our life will find a deeper meaning. And in that meaning, there is joy, play, compassion. And when we share joy, play, and compassion, we have something meaningful to share. And in that experience of sharing is our deeper meaning, where we have come closer to ourselves. And we need each other to go there. We need each other to experience the oneness that is our core. And I'm going to touch base on Jesus. Jesus was not a rule follower. Has anyone noticed that? He upset a lot of people. Yeah, that ending was a little bit of a twist in events, but even that ending upset some of the status quo. But I believe his death and his rising was to teach the disciples that there was more than the body. And this more comes from our relationship from within, that rises above our stories, our rules, our plans, our habits, and the way we think things should be. Jesus said, "Know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And that truth is found in our inward journey. I believe that truth is a process, continually unfolding process, where we discover and rediscover the love that we get to share. And when we meet the unconditional love, you will meet yourself. And you will be one with those qualities of peace, of beauty. Personally speaking, I've touched upon this place that's right here, not able to hold it though. But I know enough to speak these words. Jesus also said to his disciples, "Throw your nets in the water." And when they did, the nets were filled with fish. And then he said something about, you will be fishermen of men. And as they returned to land, they left everything and went with him. And that last sentence gripped me because I understand it. The disciples left everything and went with him. And when we commune, or try to commune with unconditional love, which is a living awareness that is right here, you have to let go of everything that is not loving in order to be with love. And Jesus knew this, and he was an experience. He was the model of unconditional love in human form, teaching us that we can do and be the same. And I wrote breathe. So I'm going to follow that plan. And when we see unkindness outside of ourselves, you are being shown that there is unkindness in you. I've always struggled with that, never understood it. No, the unkindness is out there. See it? I can see it. But I do believe Jesus did not see unkindness. Even though it was there, he saw an opportunity for unconditional love to shine through. And that was his greater teaching as well. And you can replace the word unkindness with loss, with jealousy, with impatience, with judgment, with cruelty, anything you want that doesn't feel particularly joyful, loving. We see, and there's a paradox here, we can see unkindness, not because it exists in the outer world, but because we painted it on the canvas of heaven that's within us. Unconditional love is like a blank canvas, so loving that it trusts us to paint whatever we want. And we paint with our thoughts, we paint with our memories, we paint with our feelings. And then when we paint those things, we see them on the outside too. But Jesus only painted with unconditional love, and that's all he saw. And that's our spiritual stretch. That is my spiritual stretch. And I have to say, I'm not that good at it. One step forward, one step back. But I'm committed to that. Because I'm committed to loving myself and to loving you all. I'm committing to loving you too, even though it doesn't seem that way sometimes. And so when we go inside and we become aware of unkindness, now we have an opportunity to move towards love. Because that awareness that we have is the awareness of love. It's being shared with us. We are aware of ourselves. Well, what is that? It's not the brain. It is the awareness of God being shared with us so that we can see ourselves. We are living in a mosaic, like alphabet soup, that we get to see, taste, feel, and experience what we are creating. There is no one doing anything to you. I used to think, oh, everyone's doing something to me. I still want to think that. But it's just not true anymore for me. It's all me. It's you seeing your thoughts. It's me seeing my thoughts in the outer world so that I can gain awareness to choose differently. Now, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that a beautiful, loving thing that we are given? That when we see something that's not beautiful or hateful or unkind, we can look at ourselves and look at that in ourselves and change that if we choose and see things differently. And when we see things differently, the outside will respond and become that. How powerful are you? So powerful. It touches me. I used to say, you know, I didn't bring there's a little sign in the office, be still and know. I used to think, well, what's there to know? And then later in my life, I said, well, there's a lot of things to know, and I know it all. That usually got me in big trouble. And then when I realized I did know it all, I would take the opposite view, and I said, I don't know nothing. I don't know anything. And that didn't feel particularly good either. But when I go within and rediscover my true nature, the truth of me, and I tap into something that wants to benefit me and benefit everyone else. And this knowing is spontaneous. It's like that. And in our personal experience of naturally being of benefit to others and to ourselves, then comes the deeper meaning. And that meaning is also our essence, because love is our essence. On my last 2 pages, and I'm going to share 2 personal stories. I wasn't going to share this story, but I decided to, and I'm hesitating. I have several, I'm going to share. I have several social circles, like the church circle, family circle, support group circles, 12-step circles. I have a sister circle who shares her friends and loved ones with me. I have my friends circle. I have a non-NVC, the Passionate Communication circle. And I have study group circles. And in one of my circles, I became fond of a woman. And that woman chose someone else to be with. And I felt the sting of that. I felt sad. And then suddenly, I started to feel all these feelings. I started to feel grief and sadness. And I said, holy smokes, I didn't realize how much I love this person. And so I would stop and take moments of stillness. Every 20 minutes, I would stop thinking, stop my mind, and just be still. I would go blank. I would explore the stillness. I can only do it for a few seconds. But in those few seconds, something happened. I continued to do it over and over again. And then I began to have insights from that stillness. And I also had relief and calm. And the insights I had was that feelings of loss were amplified from my childhood. There was a lot of loss in my childhood. And I wasn't able to feel those feelings. But now I have the strength to feel those feelings. And now there's a silver lining in that experience. And that understanding helped to calm me and with a new perspective. And so I just felt the feelings that I wasn't able to feel. And cry in a lot, parking lots. A week later, I had coffee at a cafe, feeling better. And I saw a napkin, and I began to write on the napkin. And I'm going to share with you what I heard. God seems to know the story. He's tough to fool. And this is what he writes. This is what I heard. Feel it all. Empty yourself. To weep is a beautiful gift you give to yourself. A way to love yourself and accept all as it is. To weep is to see a glimmer of love, like the shiny gold nugget resting on the bottom of a cold mountain stream. Look upon the gold and nothing else. As you see the sparkling gold of unconditional love, relief will come. Fear not. Just as I accept myself as beautifully complete, I see the same glimmer of golden completeness within you, which I'm grateful for. That golden shimmering you will become brighter the more you practice moving towards me, the more you focus on the goal. And you can use your tears to accept everything just as it is, even mourning a loss. I am here with you, and you shine in my heavenly view. Now, after hearing that, I kind of wrote back on that napkin. Well, I don't feel particularly shiny right now. I feel kind of sad still, and, I'm a little scared. And then I hear a voice again. Your tears are the streams that magnify the golden nugget. And this place comes to my understanding, because everything in water is about a third bigger than what its actual size. And your tears, the voice continues, will give life to others further downstream who drink from the crystal clarity of my unconditional love that your tears bring through you. And so I was grateful for that. I went in and felt what I needed to feel and received my guidance. It wasn't always like that for me. It used to be to avoid my feelings, to get busy, to do what I should do, to be responsible, to make a story about what happened, but not just, and to do anything but to avoid being here with me and with what is. And that's how I used to live. So now the second story. I'm looking forward to tell this story. That was a hard story to tell. The other day, I planned my day. I planned to get up, pay my bills, do a few things on the computer, do some chores, and then I planned to go to the cafe and have coffee. And when it was time to leave to the cafe, I felt an urge to go for a walk instead. And then I thought to myself, should I follow my plan? It was a good plan. I worked hard at getting that plan. It was a great plan. I love that plan. Or should I follow this impulse and go for a walk? Most of my life, I followed the plan. Actually, it was everyone else's plan that I followed. I decided to go for the walk. And I met an amateur photographer there. And we started talking about ideas in photography. I used to dabble in photography. And we agreed to get together to explore a photography idea, one that I had for a long time. And so I love that. By following what's within me, I unfold. I came closer to my dreams and what I wanted. So I'm going to end with a question. What do you follow? Do you follow the plan, the ritual, the habit, something you should do? Or do you take the risk and go within? Sometimes not knowing what's there and just allow it to be as it is. And sit with it and love it. And underneath it all is joy and beauty. And it's who we get to be. So it's open. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mark. I want to start with one thing that came to me very clearly as Mark was talking. It was an image of myself responding to some of the unkindness that I've seen on a global level, and taking to heart the comment that if the unkindness, if I see unkindness, it's unkindness in me, and the task is to not see unkindness, to respond with kindness myself. And that probably, for me, that was the thing that stood out the most from everything that you said today, Mark. I know there are many, many different aspects, but just that reminder that I can only react to someone else's unkindness if I see the unkindness, because that unkindness is within me. If I can expunge the unkindness within me, if I can release that, then I can't even see, much less respond to the unkindness in someone else. And that to me is, right now in this age of a lot of unkindness being bandied around, I think that's probably one of the most basic lessons that I could hear today. So, that's just my response. But you're opening it up to everybody. So.
Years ago, actually now decades, I was with a member of the Grand Rapids Symphony Orchestra, and we were in the midst of a search for a new conductor. And previous conductor, very talented, and took the orchestra in various directions, and the orchestra expanded. But they felt that they needed something new. They wanted to reach, the mantra kept being, we need to go to the next level. We need a conductor to take us to the next level. And I kept hearing it so many times and going, what does that even mean? How does a conductor take us to the next level? And it dawned on me that, in order for the orchestra, the actual musicians, to play at the next level, each musician must play at the next level. Which of course then meant each of us would either have to change or strive, for another level of musicianship or technicality or some sort of higher ability, for the good of the orchestra. And then I hear about healing and exactly responding as well to, if there's unkindness within, and then also with Mark's comment on love, and then drawing as well on my teaching and actually as well, I watched The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt last night for the first time.
The Unbreakable what?
And there was one episode in there where she talked about, you can do anything for 10 seconds. And I thought, the one that responded exactly to what I do with my teaching, not the 10 seconds part, but the small goals, and so I realized, I'm like, okay, yes, realizing the unkindness within myself, and that the Christ painted with love got me to think that dwelling upon love and all of its aspects tolerance, joy, radiance, all of these aspects. If I can at least, work on one or two of them, when dealing with unkindness, when dealing with despair, when dealing with anger, I feel that that can be my one step or contribution towards healing, towards reaching this next level, towards reaching this sense of unity. Yeah, because getting it from our conductor was not going to be the way. I mean, he could guide us, but ultimately, in order for that orchestra to reach the next level, it had to be me. It had to be from my stand partner. It had to be from the first oboe player, and all of these individuals, each taking their own step. And it did not necessarily have to be the same step, but it all had to be a step. And so I want to thank Mark and thank Sandy for helping guide me in terms of what can I do to forward the healing process of, for myself, for my community, for my friends, for those whose thoughts and ideas aren't in line with mine. I will leave it at that. Thank you.
What was the movie again?
It was The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. It's a Netflix comedy.
Kimmy Schmidt.
Kimmy Schmidt, The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. I guess it ran for 4 seasons. A friend of mine recommended it, and I had just finished a DVD set of another sitcom, and so I thought, okay, well, I'll try this one out. And that one struck me because, again, I teach about small successes. That one seemed like another appropriate tool. So, thank you.
Mark, I'm going right back to your opening story. That threw me back when I was that little boy, and many a time I was in the spot where I was asked to do put in a situation, and I was only given part or none of the instruction on how to do it. In my life, I've often taken experiences like that and rewrote the experience like I would have liked it to be. So this is how I redid your story. The minister was teaching the ritual, which a lot of the public today will do ritual, just the automatic thing. A robot can do ritual. Ring the bell when you see the hand, the right hand leaning, ring the bell. The little kid did that perfectly. There should have been no laughter, no embarrassment. So I would have liked to see that 80-year-old minister, when the service was over, give a little brief talk to the congregation, telling them that he taught the little boy ritual, and this is what happens when adults do ritual without any more knowledge, not any really divine connection. So what's the difference between ritual and a blessing and something where we call the divine in to be the part of the ritual? And they'd say, now, folks, this is the rest of the little boy's lesson and your lesson, that The reason we ring the bell is we're calling, we're invoking the spiritual forces to be here in this ceremony, and that's the difference between a ritual and a ceremony. So the next time we do this with this instruction, the little boy will now know the difference between ritual and ceremony, and so will you.
This is part of the ritual. But it's been snagged. There. Okay. Well, I appreciate what you said, Mark, because that's been my experience lately. Not with the local ritual, I missed out on that in my early church life. But the experience of, and I did develop, how do I say this? I find that I am doing a ritual of meditation. And that's where I try to get my thoughts to stop in my head so that I can feel the inner voice. And I'm sometimes successful with that. But a little thing that I started, which is the Ho'oponopono, is exactly what you said about the reason you do that little ritual, if you will, that when I think of something that hurts me, or that I feel offended by, or that I do that I don't like, I say that to myself, fully realizing I'm only healing my perspective, my painting of it. And I like that analogy. Because when I forgive myself, first of all, for not living up to the thing that I want to be, which is love, at all times, to all people, with the intention I have of being unconditionally loving, I notice that when I do have a gripe about something, when I want to blame somebody else, when I see things that I don't like the looks of, the only thing I can do is heal my attitude about it. I can only heal my impression and my pain. And I think also, sometimes when we're listening, if we hear something that we don't like, I can't tell you, just doing that for a day, when I first got the book about it, I did that for a day, and I took off to do some project or other, and wound up not doing that at all, 10 other things, just like you said. And it was just as easy, and there was such synchronicity that happened. But I think one of the biggest problems is our own fear about, I don't want to say, not being enough, of doing it wrong, that there is a right way, and we're not doing it. And so for me to just heal that part of the story, and then I am more free to go off the beaten path, to take a different road, to stop where I'm inspired to stop, because I'm not blaming myself. Oh, but this is the right way to get to point A and point B. You know, I can do that in a kind of inspired way. And if I listen with that same attitude, which I'm intending to do more and more, I get inspired too. And when I'm asked for inspiration,
I don't even hardly have to get the thought in my mind, and it drops right at me. And it can be something I hear outside that reminds me, it's like it's the answer to the question I have. And I had that happen so much this last week, it was just amazing. So I guess that's all I have to say. I think with ritual, sometimes I don't remember, but if I have that ritual and it's humming in my back voice, I can bring it up when I need it. Or, you know, the thing about town, what do you call them, symbols that you would carry, charm, or like the coin, talisman, right? Sometimes that you'll find your inner self touching that talisman just to remind you of what you intend. And so I think there is a value in that and a time for doing that for people. So, but I am just amazed at the inspiration that came to me and the feeling of just, you know, when you finally travel down the road without a goal in mind, open to whatever comes and whoever you meet, whoever you talk to on that path. I've had a couple of times when vacations were like that, when I'm just inspired to do whatever. And it was so joyous. And I remember that. So I want to have that joyous feeling more often. And as you say, there's a lot of grief going on these days. And I'm hoping that we can find that peace that comes from that aspect of ourselves that I believe is in all of us and that unites us, that we would call our higher power or love, unconditional love. And although in this three-dimensional world, we have an awful hard time sometimes to express that, if we can remind ourselves that it is there. And you know, the thing is, the more synchronicity you see, the more answers that fall in your lap, the more you trust it. You begin, at least I have begun to trust it. Because it took me a long time to trust the word God. I did not have a good feeling when I hear the word God. So now I understand when I transfer that to unconditional love, to the all-powerful, the message that you say, and with that, thank you. Anybody else? So, no one else is ready to come forward to speak, then we will close the service and we'll start with joining together and singing our peace song and then repeating the prayer for protection that has come out of the silent unity prayer service.
With me, let there
So